Good afternoon. Topic for this webinar is how to use Stata to do various regression analysis. It's conducted by Hakim Ali. Hakim, how to pronounce MD?
Muhammad Hakim Ali. MD.
Okay, Muhammad Hakim Ali. And Muhammad Hakim is a graduate research assistant in a flagship project entitled Cybersecurity Risk and Bank Stability at Taylor's University, Malaysia. Muhammad Hakim has recently passed his PhD Viva. Congratulations. So you will be a doctor officially soon. Focusing on 3 essays in cybersecurity risk in banking institutions. He obtained master's in Islamic finance from INSIF and BBA in finance and banking from the University of Rajshahi. Am I right? Rajshahi?
Rajshahi, yeah.
Okay. He has published a few papers in ISI journals over time. Among them are Economic Modeling, Australian Economic Papers, Managerial Finance, Studies in Economics and Finance. And he has book chapters published by Springer. Some of them are under revision, and some of his papers also have been submitted and they are under revision in high-ranking journals. In addition, he has a fair number of conference papers presented in different countries like the US, United Kingdom, Italy, the long list, Vietnam, Saudi Arabia, and Malaysia, Hungary. Muhammad Hakim also frequently writes about Islamic finance, banking, and finance in Bangladesh leading daily newspapers like Financial Express. Is it? Can you later share some of them with me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. No, seriously, later send me a link to some of them. I want to read. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation. So the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Said. I'm very grateful that you have given me the opportunity to share something which I recently aligned with my recent research. So today what I'm going to do is the first few minutes I'm going to give is a theoretical interpretation of stable regression. Then I will show one of my recent research how I have done using this data from very basic to the GMM on the last version, so that it can be more intuitive at the same time how a research can be done in order to publish. So before I start, I would like to say that if you have any theoretical question in terms of model derivation or parameter derivation, of course I'm not that level. You can we have some experts, let's say Dr. Ratneshwari, Dr. Harpal, and there are various econometricians also here, so we can go. I can refer to them. And for technical, I'll try my best to answer those questions. And starting. First of all, I would like to show you some of the papers which you can read later on to extend your knowledge in this area. Those are these papers. Introduction to Stata. This paper you can read, and then also Journal of Econometrics paper in the finished sample correction for the variance linear coefficient twisted GMM estimators. Then how to use the X-bound 2 for the GMM. Then GMM estimation, introduction to GMM estimation, and also you can check our paper which we have published in economic modeling, and it is one of the most cited paper in that particular journal, and we have used GMM. And you can also check our recent paper which we published in the Studies in Economics. Here we have used GMM and also the quantile regression. So for further read, you can check these papers. Moving to this presentation, first of all, I would say that what is regression? Regression is simply refers to the estimation of population mean of the dependent variable based on the independent variables, and it simply gives the direction positive or negative, or and the significant level of the partial correlation coefficient. So here I have used my own equations which I applied, which I will show you when I give you the hands-on interpretation. Here I use the bank stability as a dependent variable and economic policy uncertainty as an independent variable, focus independent, and all other things which I control here. So this is the equation I will follow over the times through these stata. And one of the misconceptions which we often face is that correlation and regression, where correlation measures the strength of linear association, while its regression estimates the value of outcome variable based on a given fixed value of other variable. So when we come to the data analysis regression running, definitely we need the data observations, and in terms of data, we can segregate data into three categories: sample size, time series, and cross-sectional data and full data. Basically, time series is the sample size where you have multiple T and single cross sections, and the problem might associate here is the multicollinearity issues and autocorrelation issues, which I will show you during the data interpretation. Then cross-sectional data, which is you have multiple cross sections but single time frame, that is falling under cross-sectional data. And when you combine these time series and cross sections, and that turns out a pool data or panel data or longitudinal data, which means that you have multiple time periods and multiple cross sections, like multiple farms or country or wherever it is. Then moving further, I will this time we will be discussing more about this panel data. And in terms of panel data, we have two sides of models. One is static model, and another one is dynamic model. In the static model, there are fixed effect method and random effect method. What is fixed effect method? It basically controls the omitted variable varying across cases but constant over time, and each entity has its own individual characteristics that may or may not influence the predictor variable, and we should control those factors. This is the assumption which fixed effect model holds. So the fixed effect model controls for all time invariant differences between the individuals, so the estimated coefficients of the fixed effect model cannot be biased because of the omitted time invariant characteristics. So basically, in your model, you may have some you may have some unobserved heterogeneity, and if you want to control that unobserved heterogeneity, fixed effect model gives a parameter to control that unobserved heterogeneity. And the same thing we can apply in the random effect, that we don't want to basically control that unobserved heterogeneity. So in that case, you can use the random effect model. So again, which model to choose in terms of this statistical significance? You can use the Hostman test. On the null hypothesis of the Hostman test is saying that the random effect is preferred, and or on the other hand, the alternative hypothesis is the fixed effect is preferred. So based on the Hostman test, you can check, and moreover, you also can sometimes researchers are ad hoc basis that they take fixed effect because my data has the characteristics which fixed effect model assumes. So it can be either way. Then in terms of dynamic model, we have this pool mean group models, and we have GMM models, and mean groups assume that the less restrictive allowing heterogeneity and run regression for each cross sections, and pool mean group pulling the similar mean group that allows shorter time coefficients and restrict long-term coefficients. So moving further, the GMM model basically it addresses the endogeneity, which means the correlation between the independent variables and the error term, and that correlation may be caused because of the reverse causality, because of the omitted variable, because of the measurement error. So when this GMM model, where the GMM model can be applicable more robust way, is that where we have less time periods and more cross sections, we can use it. Basically in Islamic banking data, we have less Islamic banking data. That cyber security related data also we have. Sometimes we have disclosure data, recently disclosure rules regulation applied, so data is not for longer time periods. So those kind of data sets, in order to get robust result, we can use GMM model. And Another thing is in GMM model, we always use the left-hand side, that is a dependent variable, as a leg dependent variable in the right-hand side, in order to control the persistency issues. And moreover, sometimes we find that we are very persistent. We use GMM model and we have more time periods. So in that case, what we can do also to average the time periods, so that the time periods T gets lower than N. So that also can be done. And in order, GMM also have two types of GMM: the different GMM and system GMM. And different GMM use differentiations to address these endogeneity issues. And where we have two types of difference: one is step difference, two is step difference, some different GMM. And system GMM again is system GMM arrives to address the issues which different GMM could not. That is the information loss and the weak instrument issues. So system GMM come up with saying that okay, this can be done, and to address those things. Again, system GMM also have some loophole, which is too many instruments, which makes the standard error downward bias. And so that can be also done using the extra one two collapse options to reduce the door. Then moving further is whether the GMM is rightly applied or not. In that case, we can see the Sargan-Hansen test, and we can also check the AR1, AR2 test. So we will look into those things in the Stata application. So now moving to this Stata, we know that is one of the most popular software in order to run some regressions, and also it can be applied in the time series models, which is MGUS, DGUS, EGUS. So it can be used. So for now, what I'm doing is I'm taking you to the my models, where I will show you applicably how my model is following according to these different regressions. And also I'll show you how to test the blue and the best linear unbiased estimators. So I'm taking you, first of all, I'm taking you to these variables and data list which I prepared here. This is my Excel list. The data is similarly taking this similar kind of data where in the previous time I did a research based on the economic policy uncertainty on the levers, and which got accepted in the IMF conference in USA. And after that, I also just tend to see whether the economic policy uncertainty on the bank stability. The theoretical reason is that economic policy uncertainty is affecting the performance, then risk management systems, then leverage. So I can attempt to address whether this economic policy uncertainty affecting this stability. In order to, I'm giving this explanation in order to just, so that you can follow from the statistical way and follow from the also from the theoretical perspective. So here, what I have done is the all. This is all my bank name, and this is the bank ID, which is BID. So I have 878 banks. Then I have country. You can see I have 23 countries. So I did all those things. Although this can be done in through the Stata, but I always feel comfortable using the Excel, because sometimes you download data from the World Bank, sometimes you download data from the Bloomberg data stream. So in that case, it is always easy to convert this data into panel format. And if you want to really understand how panel can be converted using Stata, is you just simply use pivot table. It's very easy to convert the data into panel format. Then in the case of variable, which I have so many variables here, and or sometimes we need to create some variables. In that case, so what I do is I basically do I create variables in the Excel format, and I sometimes the variable the data point is missing. In that case, this won't appear in the data file, and then that data row will turn out like a red line. So which means that there's something is a problem over there. So therefore, I always prefer to do in these things in Excel file. Moving further, since I just want to show you that how this panel, in terms of if it is, if you want to convert it as a cross section, then simply will do take only 1 year. So like this. So now it's turned out as a cross section data. And when I want to make it a time series, then this is the time series. This up to this is the time series data, and now the whole data set turns out a panel data because multiple year and multiple farms, so it now turns to the panel data. So moving further, and now I would like to take you to the Stata Outbrace, and this is Stata. If you don't have Stata, Stata is basically the crack version is available. So if you don't have, I can share you the link. Then you can download and practice. So to interpret about the Stata, how we can import data. We can import data in multiple way. Import data through this Excel, and if it is CSV file, you can import it through CSV file. And we have edit options to edit something variable, and we have also data. And here I use the data editor browser. The new dialog box will appear. Then I will show you how to do this. Just like before that, I want to explain a little bit about this graphics. If you sometimes you want to see the quantum regression graph, and then different types of graph, bar chart, pie chart, histogram, you can use this manual way, and statistics, summary statistics, regression, panel mode, multivariates. You A lot of things are available there. If you want to do in a manual way, you can do. But for me, most of the time I use the coding systems. So now let me show you how I bring the data into this data. The first thing I do, I copy all this data into from the Excel. Then I bring it into the data editor file. I just copy paste. And it shows me, do you want to treat the first row as a variables names or data? The first row is definitely the variables names, and then I say yes, and it turns out with all the data. Can you see the data?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, so I can see all all the data are here. And if you find this any column is red, that means that column has any issue, either calculation or missing data issue, or that column is a text format. So here we don't have that red column except this text column. So we are pretty sure that all the data were correctly imported. So now what I'm going to do is I want to show you this DO file. I just bring a DO file here to show you. So I bring the DO file here, and I want to see how it works for my data set. So here I have the Outbrace command options here, the command dialog box, and here I have the DO file. So I will copy this all the course, and I will put it in the command box, and I run. The first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to saying that this data, you check my data set as a panel format, and that's what xt set. X is a cross section, T is for time series. So a multiply xt set is the time, the panel format. So BID is the bank ID, and here is the year number of years. So it turns out the panel format. And then the next thing what I'm going to do is since the country year heterogeneity I want to control, so I will generate the country year variable using the comment gen comment for the generate variable country year equal to CID times year. So I created a country year variables to control the country year heterogeneity. Then the next thing what I can do is that most of the times the researcher want to remove the extreme outlier. In that case, the previous researchers, they always most of the time they use the Winsorization, which is 1 and 99 percentile. So we're using Winsor 2 commands, and all the static variables we is which you might potentially use. And so you put all the variables here, and using the Windsor 2 commands, it will convert all the variable winsorized at 1 and 99 percentile. So once it is done, so you can see that now the extreme outlier from your dataset is removed. Then if you want to describe the data, what format the data, is it binary variable, continuous variables, string variables, you can do this describe options to read all the data variable format. Then the next thing what I'm going to do is using the summary statistics, which means the descriptive statistics to see what is the standard deviation, mean, skewness, kurtosis, which gives that normality of the data variable. So what I'm doing the sum commands to get the summarization of all the things, and I also use the sdoc. Sdoc is the command to convert all of your results into Word files. So, and end of the day, you need to use the details words to come with details. Otherwise, it will not come with the skewness, kurtosis. So that's why I use the details end of this command. So now it turns out all the things, all the variables, observations, how many observations, mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, 1 percentile, 99 percentile, skewness patterns. So you can have a look on your data, how the data patterns, how it looks like. And end of the day, if you click this My File Doc, it will turn out a Word document where you can see your descriptive statistics. So it's basically for publication purpose. You don't have to copy paste. So you just simply use that commands to get it easier. Then what I'm going to do is again, we also sometimes we want to see the correlation matrix. Here I have the course for my Pearson correlation matrix, and I just copy this Pearson correlation matrix code, and at 5% significance level. So I use sdoc, which I previously used to get the Word file format. And then I use the power Pearson correlation comments. And end of the day, I want to see this is still 5% significance. So it will now I run this, and it shows that the correlation between the variables, so whether it is significant or non-significant. Again, if you click this file, it will come up in the Word file. So that's how it can be done. So moving further, I want to also show that whether sometimes we are being asked whether the model is blue or not. So in that case, what we can do, we can test the wireless assumptions. There are few wireless assumptions: normality, multicollinearity, heteroscedasticity, and autocorrelation. So I just want to show you that how we can do this assumption wise. So first of all, we want to see this whether the data is normally, not the data, the error variance is normally distributed or not. So in that case, what we can do, we can run a regression first, and then we do predict. We predict residuals. So we use the predict resid commands and residuals. So it will residuals not allowed. Okay. What you're going to do is, now we use the predict command to predict residuals. And if you go to the data set, we see that there is a residual variables is created here. You can see here this variable. So then what we're doing is we want to see the histograms of the normality, whether the data is normally distributed or not. You can see this pattern of the data, and then afterwards, if you want to see this Jack-Brett test of normality, which in the null hypothesis data is the error variance is normally distributed, and alternative is not in the normally distributed. So the p-value is 0, which means that the data simply is not normally distributed. So we have also subview test, and we can also check the U normality, P normality, those things, but I'm not going to show all those things. Then coming to the multi-collinearity test, or whether the independent variables are correlated with one another. So we need to also check that one, because it is one of the OLS assumptions that data should not be multi-collinear. So here we run a regression first, and we see this regression is run, and we want to see the variance influence factors, and we do the BIF, and we see that on overall the BIF level is less than 3, and 1 over BIF is always less than 1. So we can say that there is no multicollinearity issue in terms of I mean, in case you face multicollinearity issues, let's say 10, 12, 13, in that case you can do stepwise regression, or you can remove that particular variable coming with the high BIF. So it can be done that way. Then coming to the heteroscedasticity test, we want to see whether the error variances are homoscedastic or heteroscedastic. We want to see that one, and what we do, we first run the regressions of our studied variables, and we run the code of state hat test. We do the state hypothesis. It's a Bruce-Pagan test. The null hypothesis is that error variance are homoscedastic, and alternative is error variance are heteroscedastic. So we fail to reject alternative hypothesis. So that means the data is heteroscedastic. And in terms of, if you want to see the graph, then you can write this RBF plot YLEN. It will show you the graph. So basically, it shows that there is a heteroscedasticity in the data error variance. So to avoid this heteroscedasticity, if the data has heteroscedasticity, basically what it makes a standard error higher, which makes the t-statistics lower, and we are end of the day we are coming and saying that even though the coefficient is significant, but we fail to say that the coefficient is significant. So to address these heteroscedasticity issues, what we can do, we can use the BCE robust, which will give us after regression, we end of this my command, we use the BC robust, which will give us a robust standard error, which is the standardized robust standardized standard error. So it will you can see the robust standard error here. So that's how we can address this heteroscedasticity issues. And coming to the autocorrelation test, where the null hypothesis is that there is the residuals are not linearly autocorrelated, and alternative hypothesis is the residuals are autocorrelated. So in that case, what we need to create a time variable to see, since the autocorrelation is basically related to the time series data. So we need to create a time variables, and here we are creating a generate time variables. Using the T set. So now we are saying that it converts the data is a time series data. And then what are we going to do? We go run the regression. So our studied regressions. So we run the regressions, and finally we want to see that we are seeing that predict you had residuals. So it will predict you have residuals. And finally the T set time series line, it will show us whether there is a clustering in the data or not. So you can both way, you can see the graph, and you can also see the Darwin-Watson test. And on Darwin-Watson test, on the null hypothesis is there is no autocorrelation. So it says that there is autocorrelation, since it's the p value is higher than I mean it's more, so we fail to reject. Oh, no, the null hypothesis is accepted, isn't it? So basically, this is now we can conclude that whether our estimate would be the blue estimate or not. So that's basically what we need to do to come up with that conclusion. Now, since in the meantime we have also converted our data into time series, now we need to again to make our data into the panel format. So therefore, we have to again use this XTZ PID here formula. Now coming to my model, what basically I wanted to do and what basically I end up with the findings. Here, my basic intention was to see whether this economic policy uncertainty has an impact on this bank stability. So bank stability is basically constructed based on this standard ROA 3 years ROA ruling based standard deviation of ROA. And also, so I want to see whether that standard deviation of ROA 3 years ruling based, that basically the weeks, whether that can and that is affected or not. So before I jump to the stability, I have to do the the deeper analysis, and I find that the yes. This economic policy uncertainty increases the riskiness of performance. Again, I also want to see that because ROA is constructed based on this stability is constructed based on the external division or ROA, and then ROA plus equity to total asset. And again, I want to see whether this because later on the reviewer may ask us that whether you are jumping there and whether you are fundamentally you are being affected and this variable is being affected or not. So that to address those kind of things, we did this further analysis and we said that it's negatively affected with the ROA plus, which is expected. And the same thing happens also for a standard deviation of ROE equity, return on equity. Same things happen. So we can move further. So what I'm gonna do is next things is that I'm saying out of nothing. I don't have a strong theoretical background to say that economic policy uncertainty affects banking stability. So what I'm doing, I accept this economic policy uncertainty. I have non-performing loan equity to asset, then loan loss reservation efficiency ratio, tangibility, then bank size, net income, and GDP as a macroeconomic variable. I want to check this whether this is ever. And with this model is without economic policy uncertainty, and the significance, overall significance is 10.91%. And then the next thing I want to add that log of economic policy uncertainty, and I want to say whether the model overall R square is increasing or not. Here it is increasing, and also at the same time it's coming out as significant. So I have a valid reason to say that yes, economic policy uncertainty do make sense for the stability, banking stability. And that's how. And another thing in these times, the more the quality. I mean, my top journals, they simply don't accept the papers which have simply the one variable to one variable. So what I have done here is I have taken the proxy for a log of economic policy uncertainty. The global economic policy uncertainty, and I want to say whether the result is consistent or not. And I find that the result is significantly consistent. And again, I also checked that whether financial stress index is also giving the same kind of findings or not. And I also find that these things is negatively also. So I can now conclude that there is a consistency in terms of finding. Even I changed the proxy variables. So that was my main models, and moving further to show you how I run the fixed effect, random effect, and then dummy variable interaction. So what I am going to do is that I run the fixed effect model here. The fixed effect model is nothing, everything almost same, and just using the comma and fixed effect FE. So it will run fixed effect for me. And what I'm going to do is, in order to calculate the Hostman test, I have to store this information in stator memory. That's why I said store fixed. So I am asking stator to store this in status memory. Then I again run the random effect. Again, the random effect is here it will be RE. So after all the codings, just use the RE and it will come up with the random effect model. You see the model significance almost all the same. And again, I'm asking this starter to store this as a random model. So it did it. Now I want to see the Hostman test. So I use the Hostman code, Hostman fixed random. So Hostman fixed random, and this is sigma more. So it will run the Hostman test for me, and I see the probability is less than 0, which is significant. Which our null hypothesis is the random effect is preferred. So we random the null hypothesis is random effect is preferred. So we take fixed effect. We fail to accept the null hypothesis, isn't it? Then the next thing is I'm going to show you is how to deal with the dummy models. In this case, what I'm showing is that I generate a dummy variable, so which is a log economic policy uncertainty, and then I have a variables of high economic policy, which is based on the median of the economic policy. If it is higher than median, then I take one. If it is lower than median, then I take zero. So that's how my variables in the Excel. So I construct a variable log economic policy uncertainty times high if you. So I construct these variables as the dummy variables, and it will show. Then again, I also construct another variable for low economic uncertainty using the gen command. Then I run this regression whether this high economic policy uncertainty really has any impact on this Z-score or not. You see the log of high economic policy uncertainty, and it says it's significant. Whereas I also use the low economic policy uncertainty using the gen command, and it shows again that the low economic policy uncertainty has a significantly positive effect on the banking stability. Maybe some sort of uncertainty is really needed for the economy. Then moving further, how to address the interactions with the moderating effect in the presence of one variable, how is the effect of another variable. So to do those things, I want to show you how to do this. So what is the thing we first do is we generate interactive variables. How we are doing, we use generate command and log of economic policy uncertainty. And on the other hand, I want to say that any country having economic growth volatility, so in the presence of growth volatility, what is the effect of what is the effect of economic policy uncertainty on the stability? So therefore, I multiply this log of economic policy uncertainty and the growth volatility, which is the standard deviation of GDP 3 years rolling standard deviation. So I created that one. And again, I also want to see what is the inflationary volatility if any country has a high inflationary volatility, and what is the impact of this economic policy uncertainty on the banking stability. So I created those two interactive variables, and I now next time what I am doing, I just want to run the regression using those variables, those interactive variables. So you see, I have inflation. In that is not that one here. So you see, I have GDP, see inflation, standard deviation of inflation. So the impact is negative, and I have log of economic policy uncertainty. So in that case, I can say that the presence of growth volatility, what makes it the economic policy uncertainty more significant. And again, inflation and in standard deviation of inflation, and this is the interactive variable. So individual effect, you can see the individual effect and then the interactive effect. So that's how we can address this moderation effect. And coming to the GMM, which is one of the important things right now, when many researchers they use GMM. So what we need to do for the GMM is this is the different GMM. We need to use the extrabound2 command. So if you don't have extrabound2 commands in this syntax in your Stata, what you need to just ssc install in extrabound2, and it will install the extrabound2 command. And then what I'm doing is the Z-score is the dependent variables, and I use this the leg of Z-score as a independent variable to control this persistency, since it's the dynamic model. Then I use the log of economic policy, which is my focus variable, and all of my control variables here. Then what I'm doing is GMM and these commands. this comment says that these variables I potentially feel this are the endogenous variables, or these variables could be correlated with the error term. So I put these variables here, and I am saying the system use minimum leg 2, and here the deeper leg will be maximum, and instrumental variable which I have taken from other variables to proxy the proxy. So I have taken ROA as an instrumental variable, and this is the no-level comments for the different GMM, and it comes out as a robust to control the heterogeneity standard robust standard error. So I run this equation, I run this code. It takes time. Yes, it is there. So in that case also we see that our model in terms of findings, our model is okay, and number of instruments, we need to check whether number of instruments is less than number of groups, or number of instruments is less than number of groups. This is one of the criteria basically, and we also need to check that whether AR1 AR2 test is okay or not, and also we need to check the Hansen test. Basically AR1 test that there is no autocorrelation, the missing of autocorrelation in first difference, and AR2 there is a missing of autocorrelation in second difference. Usually the first difference autocorrelation is expected, but in second difference it is not expected. So here we all find that significant. So it is not prepared to find that second difference autocorrelation is expected. So and the Hansen test, and this test is for to test this over identification restrictions, which basically test for the overall validity of the instruments. And here null hypothesis is all instruments as a group are exogenous, while alternative hypothesis is not exogenous. So we fail to reject the null hypothesis. So this is a way of doing different GMM, and just I use the state as STO command to store this informations for the publication purpose, which I will show you later how to bring those results in the Word file easily. So therefore, I use this STO command to store this model. Then second, we also use okay, this model is basically the same thing. Again, we just want to we wanted to change this financial stress instead of economic policy uncertainty, and we run the regressions, and whether these also fulfill the criteria or not. Just to check those things, we can always run this way using this proxy variable. Yes. So it turns out again you need to say, check the diagnostic test. And again, we are storing this model, naming S2, the model name S2. Then coming to the system GMM, to address the issues of depending on whether the system GMM result is okay or not. So we run the system GMM model. So what is basically the difference is that we are not using no level here. If you don't use no level, it automatically assumes that it is running the system GMM and everything similar. The result is there. Again, we want to store this model as a model number 3. And again, we want to see whether the financial stress index also giving the same result in terms of a GMM model. and we run the changing the economic policy and change it to the financial interest index, and this code is also there. But in this case, what you can do here, we are allowing this instead of to take maximum leg. If you want to, I mean, we have another option, the collapse option, just writing the collapse here in between these parentheses, and it will take instead of based on its own calculation, it will take, I mean, the appropriate number of legs. So we can use that one also. And in terms of modifying or changing the result, we can always do one thing is changing the, I mean, the endogenous variable, leg numbers, and the proxy variable. So this is, I mean, this is the this is based on the research as well, whether there is a theoretical reason to assume that this variable would be endogenous or not, and whether there is a theoretical reason to use leg variable. So that basically depends on that particular research item. So again, we are using this command for storing the result in the name of this model 4. Then what we're going to do is to bringing these 4 models into the Word file. We are using this step command. S1, S2, S3 is the 4 model. Then level the 3 coefficient, standard error would be 2. And these are the, I mean, significance level 1%, 5%, 10%, and the title of the level. So this comment you can use Arnold bound test, what test we want, diagnostic test we want to see in the outburst, so that you can run and it will turn out like this. And if you want to take this in this in the Word file, and the next command you can use this is step, and just the heading is using means RTF file, comma, then here you need to replace the previous one. So it will, if you run this command, it will turn out the means RTF file, and you click, if you click this means RTF file, it will turn out this result like this. Then you can do some modification to make it more looking good. So this is how we can do until the GMM system GMM model, and I think this is the end of the interpretation or presentation.
Dr. Ali, well done.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Actually, each software has its own advantage and disadvantages,
Yes.
merits and demerits.
Yes.
SPSS has some advantages and Stata has some advantages. For example, time series analysis, especially ARIMA model, autoregressive, you can do wonderful job in Stata. So you have done very well. The presentation was good. The only thing is, don't refer 1 by VIF for multicollinearity. Only VIF will do, because 1 by VIF will mislead.
Okay,
for example,
so simply VIF, yeah.
1 by 2 is half. So VIF 2 is accepted. You understand? 1 by 2, 1 by half will be 2. So 1 by VIF is not less than or equal to 1. So therefore it will mislead. So for multicollinearity, you have to refer VIF enough. So don't refer 1 by
1 by half. Yeah.
So the software gives actually in the output, but we don't want that. We have to refer only VIF.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I just want to know whether Cox regression, Ridge regression, other regressions are available in Stata?
False regression, I haven't checked. I haven't done.
Cox regression, Ridge, RIDGE, Ridge. There are so many. In addition to linear and non-linear regressions, there are more than 1,000 types of regressions available. Yeah. So like Cox regression, Ridge regression, survival regression, Hazard regression.
Then like absorbed regression. Yeah.
So many in econometrics model we apply. I just want to know in Stata you have that Cox and Ridge.
I have to
because
check.
In artificial intelligence now, for all marketing, they do this one only. Suppose I'm seeing, today I'm referring a particular product. Tomorrow I will get an email, are you interested in this product? I don't know how they sense, So such an artificial intelligence they are using now, using the model. So almost IT industries now, like Google and other people, they have Android, they sense whatever we speak, And then based on that, they immediately decide that Jaya wants to have this product. So tomorrow they are sending it to the different shop owners, manufacturing that product. So I'll get an email. But I was surprised. How come they know that I have this in mind? So therefore, now the AI is going very strong using model fitting now all over the world. My daughter in US, she says, why don't you come here and join in industry to apply your regression analysis? So why I'm telling is they are using only modeling. So I think you can look for, industrial job rather than academic job, Ali, because you are good at now Stata, so you will have good scope. This is my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Prof. Said, will you allow me to share? No, I just
yes,
want to share my.
Please,
I just want to share my
thought. Actually, I was waiting for you. When you switched on your camera, I knew that you want to share something.
Yeah, we can learn something from Dr. Kejito. Yeah.
Oh my God! Actually, I want to thank Hakeem for the presentation. I think the presentation was very good, especially the area of preparing output and all that. I actually learned a new thing and some new things and quite good. Just with regard to Prof. Jaya's question, I think my advice to PhD students and young researchers is that they should not rely on Stata only. Stata is not a one-size-fits-all. They can also have eViews. You can use Arrow. You can use MATLAB. Yeah, the reason is because there are some things Stata cannot do, which eView can do. And there are some things Stata can do, eView can do, but eView can do it much, much easily. Okay, so I advise students to have, for example, you want to do a unit root test. If you have secondary data, I will advise you to use Stata. I will advise you to use eView because with eView, you can show Levenly tests, you can show Imri-Perseran tests, you can show Bridge-Root tests, you can show Hadri tests. All the 5 tests, you can show them in just one click. Whereas if you want to do it in Stata, you have to do it 5 times. That is 1. 2, if you are doing cross-sectional dependent tests by Bruch and Pagan, by Perseran, Yagamata, 2008, and many others, you can do all of them once in eView. Whereas if you are doing them in Stata, you will do them in 4 times. But Stata has an advantage over eView. And that advantage is that Stata can do higher level econometrics. For example, Stata can do a common correlated effect, like I talked about in the morning by Perseran 2006. It can do augmented Migu by Ebayad and Bond 2009. It can do Demetrius and Houtin 2012. It can also do the dynamic common correlated effect by Chudi and Perseran 2015. So there are so many advanced econometry Stata can do, which eViews cannot do. And I just want to share my experience. About 10 years ago or so, I traveled to University of Pretoria in South Africa to learn Stata. I haven't used Stata 7.
I need to make you co-host if you want to share. Like,
no. I just want to, just my thought. No, just my thought. Yes, not my slide. Yeah, not my slide. I just want to share my experience. So when I got to I went to University of Pretoria because as at that time, the professor who was teaching econometrics there was the former Secretary General of Econometric Society, World Econometric Society. So she was one of the best econometricians you can find in the whole world. Her name is Professor Eden. And I said, okay, let me go and learn econometrics from her. And when I went there, she was using the Stata, University of Pretoria in South Africa. And she was using this do file you use. Oh my God. After 2 days in the course, my brother, I was worse than how I was before I traveled to South Africa. Because when I tried to use the do file, every time I see this notification with red and everything is not working, I try to put command, everything turn red. It was a very big conference. People came from all over the many countries from the world to learn econometrics from Professor Eden. That was about 10 years ago. And at the time I finished the course, my brother, I didn't learn anything about Stata, even though I went to the former Secretary General of World Econometric Society. And the reason was because she was using this do file. Oh, you have to use do file, you have to use do file. But after that conference, I tried to explore myself, what can I do? So I now discovered that even in Stata, there are 3 ways you can do things, not just by using the do file. The do file is actually the most complex of them all. The second one is that even at the down of the Stata, below the Stata, then you can actually enter your command there, just write your command by yourself. You have your model already in your paper. This is the model you want to you want to estimate, you can just actually put in those models there, and you can just estimate those things easily without even going through file. That is the second part. The easiest way to use Stata is actually to go through statistics. If you open your Stata's file, just click on statistics, you will see all the regression you want to do. Like Prof. Jaya was saying, is that particular regression in Stata? If you want to know, just click on statistics. Once you click on statistics, there are so many arrows there. Follow all the arrows there. You will see all the statistics in Stata. Since I started using that statistics, I tell you, Hakeem, my life has been better. Because what I just do is that if I want to run GMM, I just go to that statistic, click on statistics, you will see so many variables, you see so many arrows, you see time series, you see endogenous variable for 2 state least square, you see panel data. Just follow the one you want to follow. I just click on it, then the window open for me, the window open, and they tell me where to put the dependent variable, I put it there. Where to put the independent variable, I put it there. Then am I going to do 1-stage GMM? I click on it. Are you going to do 2-stage GMM? I click on it. Are you going to do system GMM? I click. Just click. Then I just click finally. And you talk about robust standard, which I think is very important. And thank you for drawing our attention to that. If I want to do robust standard, I just click on top there. You see there are 4 types. There is default, there is cluster, there is robust cluster. Only click alone, your result appears. So in that way, you don't need to use any command. And for the past 6 years, since 2014, I discovered these things. I tell you, I have been very happy with Stata. I'm very happy with eViews. So I want to tell people, because I saw on the chat, people were asking, can he share his do file? I'm sorry to tell you, even if Hakeem shares his do file, it will not help you. Because he has prepared that do file because of his model and what he has in mind. So don't worry about do file. All you need to do is that what you want to do, just prepare your model. You have your model. Maybe you are building a growth model, or you are building carbon emission model, you are building energy model. Just go to Just go to that statistics. Once you open your Stata file, you will see for time series, you will see for endogenous, conical regression, all type of regression you want to see. Everything is there. Just follow the link. As you follow, it's very friendly. It's user friendly. Yeah.
Actually, Kyoto's point is we can avoid coding and syntax. So it is user friendly. That's the point is highlighting. Correct. You are right.
Yeah, exactly. So if you just do that, everything is fine. But when you are doing that, even the Sagan test you talk about, after estimating the result, you can just click on after report estimate, the Sagan test, the Hagan test, and everything will appear. And this is just to avoid people from running into the problem I ran into in South Africa about 10 years ago, when I thought I was in the best place to learn econometry, only for me to come home worse than how I was before I went, because of the do file. Hakeem, you see, Hakeem used the do file very efficiently, and I'm sure he has been doing this for quite a long time, and it will take him throughout the night to prepare those commands, and that's why you see everything run smoothly. I tell you, if you are a first Stata user, you want to try the do file, you will get so many red, and most of the thing will not run, and you may feel discouraged. But for you not to feel discouraged, you can either enter the command yourself, or you go through statistics on Stata. I think Stata is very good.
Kyoto, Muhammad Ali is very strong with the coding and syntax.
Yeah.
So that's why, he must be an IT person, I think. So therefore, for him, it is much easier.
Yeah.
But normally management people, they don't have sound knowledge in computer, especially, coding and syntax.
Yes.
So for them, user-friendly way would be straight away go to statistics and the click will be better.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes, Prof, many of us, we even don't want to go further, showing statistics, finding it. We just want to simply shortcut, okay, coding, okay, done, it's regression, okay, done.
Okay, so you are very strong in coding and syntax. So therefore, we appreciate your real knowledge. Actually, that is better. Ali is better. You have knowledge, so you can explore your knowledge. Very good.
Yeah. And one more thing I want to advise is, if you use Stata for the first time, you can try to make a note of it. Okay, you have your model 1. You write the model which you put there. Once you put it inside the Stata, you can just copy it and keep. So you check for autocorrelation, you can copy it and keep the note. You check for heteroscedasticity. Next time you want to use Stata, all those tests, you don't need to change anything, all those tests. The only one you need to change is your basic model, your new model that you are using. Maybe last time your paper was on energy consumption, now it's time financial development. You just need to change ENC for energy consumption to FDE for financial development. So once you have used it for the first time and you have your you make note of your model, you don't need to go through the complexity of a do file, and you can easily use it as easy as Hakim was actually showing to us. So one more time, thank you, Hakim.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much. I would learn more from this, from the statistics side from you.
Thank you very much. If there is any question, please ask. If not, later, I think Hakim, can we email us?
Yeah, I'll send
you our questions if you had any question, because it's already 1:10 p.m. and we will have PhD colloquium at 2:30. Some of the examiners are here. Some of the PhD students have presentations in the PhD colloquium. So if you allow me, I conclude the session, and I see just one comment from Kakan. Prof. Jaya, Kakan, actually, he mentioned that the regression that you were asking about, it has a comment. I lost the comment. It was in the chat box, because we are receiving so many comments. RXRIDGE. He said you can use this comment to run a regression in Stata. Okay. Before leaving the session, can we take a picture, please? Can we switch on? Can we switch on our cameras and take a picture, please? A group photo.
Hi, Dr. Apal.
How to close this? Okay. So please switch on your cameras. We want to take a photo before ending the session. Oh, I found. Okay, 3. Where is my print screen button? Okay, 3. Please switch on your camera if you are comfortable. 3, 2, smile. Okay. Thank you very much, and have a good day. I will see you later in the PhD colloquium. Take care. Thank you very much, Hakim. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.